morning. Good morning, and thank you all for coming. My name's Tom Furtado, and I have the privilege of serving as the president and CEO of Catch Neighborhood Housing. On behalf of Catch, our staff, our board of directors, thank you very much for joining us today and to help us introduce Davis Ridge to the city of Concord. Soon these apartments will be home to 48 families, and we're so very proud of that. Special welcome to the senators, Senator Maggie Hassan and Jeanne Shaheen, and Mayor Champlin is right here as well, so thank you for taking the time to join us. At Catch, we're extremely fortunate to have a dedicated team of professionals who serve on our board of directors. I'd like to introduce our board chair, James Gallagher, to say a few words.
So rather than move this, I'm just going to lean down, which is perfect because I'm not very good at the podium thing, so I'm going to read right from the paper. So my name is James Gallagher.
An elevator there to drop down, James.
Okay. So my name is James Gallagher. I'm the chairman of the board here at Catch Neighborhood Housing. On behalf of the board of directors, I'm very pleased to welcome you to our ribbon cutting and grand opening celebration and introduce you to the beautiful Davis Ridge property that you're here to attend today. The staff at Catch Neighborhood Housing have a passion for housing, and we know that these new apartments will serve our residents well and make a positive difference in the community. The project was a true collaborative effort, and I invite you to read through our project summary to see the many partners who came together to make our vision a reality. Being the chairman of the board of this organization is a real honor. I joined Catch because I want to make affordable housing a reality in New Hampshire, and it's a pleasure to watching that become a reality. And on that note, I'm going to hand it back over to Tom so he can introduce the rest of our speakers and we can get underway.
Great.
Welcome.
Thank you, James. So, affordable housing development is not for the faint of heart, and it truly takes an entire team of dedicated individuals and organizations to create a project like Davis Ridge. So before we get started with our speakers this morning, I'd like to start off by saying thank you to the people who were part of our team to make this project possible. The City of Concord, the staff is always very supportive and helpful. The Nobis Group for their engineering expertise, Milestone Construction, and all of their talented subcontractors. Our funding partners, Eastern Bank, RBC Community Investors, Rob Dappas and the entire team at New Hampshire Housing, Taylor Caswell and the team at the New Hampshire Department of Business and Economic Affairs, Sheehan Finney Bass and Green for their legal counsel, NeighborWorks America, and our elected officials, including the two affordable housing heroes who work tirelessly to bring affordable housing funding to New Hampshire. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, a huge thank you to our donors, sponsors, and staff and board of directors who keep Catch moving forward. Well, here at Catch, our mission is simple: creating communities where every person is confident of a safe and affordable home. But we build more than affordable housing. We build connections. We build safe places for our neighbors to call home. And together, we build communities. At Catch, we understand that having a safe and affordable place to call home impacts people in many ways. Performance in school, performance at work, personal happiness, positive relationships, and mental health. This takes dedicated professionals with knowledge about real estate development, financing, funding, property management, and most importantly, the passion to serve our residents. A special thank you and congratulations to Catch's Director of Real Estate and COO, Alex Panagiatakis. Alex is right here. Alex gets all the credit for this development. She drove this development from start to finish, and Davis Ridge is the result of her hard work and dedication. In fact, a comment was made this morning that Alex does all the work, but you're going to speak at the podium. So the development process. Davis Ridge was started back in the fall of 21. We identified this property, and thankfully, we had a property owner with an understanding and passion for affordable housing. That's important because the LIHTC program basically requires that the seller be willing to sign an agreement with Catch that basically says, maybe I will get my money in 18 to 24 months, and only if the stars align for this affordable housing developer. By working closely with the City of Concord, we were able to obtain all the necessary approvals, and were awarded $8.8 million of low-income housing tax credits in the fall of 2022 from New Hampshire Housing's allocation. And with the help of RBC Capital, we were able to syndicate and convert those tax credits into $8.2 million in equity for the development. Without those tax credits and without that equity, a project like Davis Ridge could never happen. We were also the recipient of nearly $1.8 million in the Invest NH funding, which was a $100 million program created using federal dollars allocated to the state of New Hampshire under the American Rescue Plan. Thank you, Senators and Governor Sununu, for that, and for always understanding the need for funding affordable housing here in New Hampshire. Once again, Eastern Bank stepped up for Catch, and not only providing equity by purchasing our tax credits, but by providing our construction and our permanent financing for this great project. So once you figure all that out, tax credits and funding and money, you actually have to build it. And Milestone Construction was engaged as our construction management firm, and they hit the ground running, and build it they did. Construction started in the fall of '23, and in just about 12 months, we stand here in front of this 48-unit Energy Star rated housing project, which has been completed ahead of schedule and ahead of budget, and that is no small feat. With the end of construction comes the lease up of 48 beautiful apartments, just like in our other 18 properties that Catch owns and operates. Davis Ridge will be professionally managed by our subsidiary nonprofit property management company, Alliance Asset Management. Alliance was formed about 10 years ago so that Catch could provide the highest quality service to our residents with an understanding of the unique challenges that come with income qualified housing. I want to thank our fantastic lease up and management team at Alliance, and currently they're processing dozens and dozens of applications for new residents to call Davis Ridge home. A staggering statistic that's always shocking to me: we process 10 to 11 applications for every one that gets accepted, and that is no small feat to get that one person in. So there will be hundreds of applications that are combed through to make sure that we fill up this 48-unit apartment project. I certainly don't need to tell you, the need for housing continues to be extraordinarily high. Catch is constantly looking for new development opportunities, and we thrive on finding creative solutions and building new partnerships. We know that every New Hampshire resident deserves a safe and affordable home, and we know that with all of you, we're up for that challenge to make it happen. So I'd like to introduce our speakers for this morning. We're so very fortunate here in New Hampshire to have both of our senators be fierce advocates of affordable housing and supporters of what we do at Catch. So please join me in welcoming Senator Jeanne Shaheen.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tom, and congratulations to you and to Alex and to everyone at Catch and all of your partners for making this beautiful new development happen. If you haven't had a chance to look at all of the units, I would advise you to go in and do that. I had a chance to see the 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. They are beautiful and have everything that you could want as a tenant. I've checked out the closets, the HVAC system, all of that. A lot of closet space, so they are really gorgeous. And it's so nice to be here with Mayor Champlin and with my colleague Senator Hassan and all of you to celebrate these wonderful new affordable housing units. You know, I've been to a lot of businesses since the pandemic, and I can tell you that the #1 issue I have heard everywhere I go is housing. People can't find housing. I hear it as I talk to people around the state. And Tom talked a little bit about why housing, affordable housing, is so important. But I was in a business earlier this week, and the two very successful women, the CEO and the owner and the manager, both of whom revealed that they had been homeless in the period of time since they had started the business. One, both as the result of divorce, and they talked about living in the car in one instance, about couch surfing with friends in another, about not wanting to share with anybody their circumstances because they felt uncomfortable about that, and they didn't want anybody to see them as not being accomplished and able to run the business. Being able to live in a place that you can feel comfortable in, that you can bring your family to, that you can afford, is an absolute American value. Every citizen in New Hampshire and in this country should be able to do that. And right now in New Hampshire, we've got a crisis. And Tom, all of the people here have done great work to help address the housing crisis in New Hampshire. But it's very real. We have one of the tightest housing markets in the country. Our rental vacancy rate, a healthy market rental vacancy rate is about 5%. In New Hampshire, it's 1.6%. So people can't find housing. I had a chance to meet with the head of the new head of the Boston Fed after she came on, and she had just finished a tour of all of the New England states, and she said, you know, I was really surprised that New Hampshire has such a tight housing market, because I didn't expect that. Much worse than the rest of the New England states. So the consequences are very real, and we've got to do more to solve it. And that's why these kinds of projects, these kinds of partnerships are so critical. One of the things Tom mentioned also is the federal dollars that have come to New Hampshire through the American Rescue Plan and through other efforts to address the pandemic. Those have been great, and they've helped with projects like this, but they're about to end. And so we've got to think about what else we're going to do to address this challenge. One of the other, because by 2030, we're going to need about 60,000 more homes in New Hampshire to address the need in the state. That's a lot of housing. And one of the challenges is our zoning laws. And I live in a small town in the seacoast, Madbury, where we have restrictive zoning. And the town has determined that that's what we want. But as we look at the challenge ahead, only about 15% of our land is available for affordable housing. That presents a real challenge. So we've got to do more to help educate people. Now, the good news is that in a survey that New Hampshire Housing Finance has done, they showed that more and more people in communities are recognizing the need for more affordable housing. They see it as a problem, and they see that it's something that we need to address. So projects like this help people recognize just how important it is to have more affordable housing. So I want to just congratulate again everybody who was involved in this project. We will continue working at the federal level to support the state and local efforts, and we understand that one of the things New Hampshire does very well is partner at the federal, state, and local level, and we've got to do more of that. More of making sure that people understand just how critical it is to ensure that we have housing for everybody who needs it. So thank you. Congratulations again on a wonderful project.
Thank you, Senator. And if I could invite Senator Maggie Hassan.
Well, thank you, Tom, for not only emceeing this morning, but for overseeing this wonderful, wonderful housing development and bringing us to this day. To Alex, congratulations, ahead of schedule, ahead of budget is really great. And for those of you who haven't had the tour yet, the common room also has outdoor space. It has a balcony off of it, and then you can see the playground, where I think because you were ahead of budget, you were able to provide that playground already in place for the residents here. And to the builders and all of the other partners who made today possible, thank you so much. Because as you've just heard my wonderful colleague, Senator Shaheen, talk about, Our housing crisis in New Hampshire is truly, I think, our state's biggest challenge at the moment. It is certainly now the thing that I hear about everywhere I go. Whether it is at a business, and it's not just business looking for entry-level workers and telling me that they can't recruit entry-level workers to the state because people can't find a place to live. It's businesses telling me that they can't recruit senior executives from other parts of the country because even though their senior executives may have lots of money to buy a house, they just can't find a place to buy. So we need to be approaching this kind of from the all of the above attitude. We need catch and we need affordable housing focus, but we also just need to increase the housing stock in New Hampshire. We live in a state full of opportunities, but too many people are really struggling to find an apartment where they can rent or even to buy their own place. And I'll add to what Jean just said, I have a colleague, somebody who is a caregiver for my son, who recently went through a divorce. And one of the divorce settlement items was that they had to sell the house and split the proceeds. Well, they sold the house, but she can't find a new place to buy with the half of the proceeds that she got. And she had a really hard time finding a place for herself and her 2 children to rent. She found one, but it took an incredible amount of diligence on her part, a lot of help from her employer, and the anxiety, at a time when you're going through a divorce, to have to worry about whether you can actually find a place to live is extraordinary. So this is something we have to keep at. We have to keep at it at the federal level. We have a bill right now in the Senate that would increase the amount of low-income housing tax credits, but it has been held up for political purposes. It's a bipartisan bill, but it's been held up, so we got to keep working on that. We've got to make sure that we celebrate the opening of projects like this so that people can see that there's a model, that it works, that these units are beautiful, that this is an asset to the community. We have to understand too that when we are reliant, and I think one of you were talking about it earlier when we were touring, this is a tourist and travel is our second largest sector in New Hampshire. We have to be able to have places for the employees who support that sector to live. And that's one of the other reasons that this kind of development is so, so important. We've all talked about the resources that do exist, the low-income housing tax credit, the money that we were able to get through the rescue plan that got deployed for affordable housing. That money, of course, is ending. We also have to work together to think through new ways of focusing on helping people afford a place to live, incentivizing developers to build affordable housing, but also the mid-level housing we need. And we have to figure out a way and really focus on first-time home buyers too. So there's a lot we can do as long as we keep at it together. The last thing I will just say, I am always very proud to say in New Hampshire we do democracy better than anywhere else. It is because people in New Hampshire raise their voices, tell their stories, contact their elected officials, whether it's at the local, state, or federal level, that we bring about change like this. So I'll encourage you all to share your experiences, share your priorities, and advocate for more funding and more options so we can have the kind of communities that all Granite Staters can call home. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. Our next speaker has been a Catch supporter in many ways. Prior to being elected mayor, Byron served on our board of directors for several years. Unfortunately, our loss of a director was the city of Concord's gain. So please help me welcome Mayor Champlin.
Tom is too kind. Let me start by echoing what Tom said about how important it is and how grateful I am that we have 2 great housing advocates in the U.S. Senate representing us, Senator Shaheen and Senator Hassan. I mean, that is so important for the state and for the nation, so thank you so much. While New Hampshire may have a 1.6%, if I heard the figure correctly, vacancy rate. The challenge we have here in Concord is that our vacancy rate is about 0.3 or 0.4 on an optimistic day. And that means that all types of housing are critical. It's an interesting irony that as I was getting into my car this morning to come over here, I was actually on my cell phone wrapping up a conversation with somebody who called me about something else, but who ended up telling me about the challenges he and his wife had trying to find an apartment to rent so that they could allow his mother to move from another state into their home here in Concord. Until they could build an accessory dwelling unit on their home so that they could all live together. What a story that is so typical of the pressures that families are experiencing here in Concord and here in New Hampshire in general. That's why this project, and that's why our partnership on the city level with Catch is so important. That's why I was pleased to hear Tom talk about the collaboration between city staff and Tom. We value Catch. I mean, the first thing I remember about Catch before I joined the board was the bold move to convert the Endicott Hotel downtown into market rate housing, which sent a signal to many people that yes, housing, market rate housing in downtown Concord was possible. And there's a direct line between their decision at the Endicott Hotel and the Isabella Apartments, which are now, I think, fully filled in downtown Concord, more market rate housing. But also the important role that Catch plays in terms of affordable housing, which is their primary mission. And again, downtown we look at Menino Place and that great investment in downtown. We look at Rosemary's Way, which recently opened in Pennacook, where we also partnered with Catch Neighborhood Housing. So as we search for ways to encourage and facilitate on the city level more housing of all types, we know that we can look to Catch Neighborhood Housing as a valued and historically positive partner in that endeavor. Being on the board, I understand fully the challenges putting together the kind of funding package that Tom was talking about a few minutes ago. There are lots of partners required. There are lots of moving pieces. And so every one of the projects like this that you see go online is a result of an immense amount of work and an immense amount of partnership at all levels. So congratulations on this. Alex, I already know you do a fantastic job, so coming in under budget and ahead of schedule is not a surprise for me with you at the helm. Notwithstanding Tom, one of the great Rhode Islanders in Concord. But thank you, Catch, and thank you to everyone involved in putting this project together. And I'm so excited to see that this will be a facility that will provide safe and affordable housing to families in Concord. Thank you.
Thank you, Byron. There's not many of us Rhode Islanders here.
I know. Not many people in this room or this tent appreciate, what is it? What'd you give me? A half gallon of Autocrat coffee syrup.
Well, thanks to my wife. She's the one who picked that up.
And I appreciate that.
As opposed to coffee milk, which is really what
Exactly. That is exactly right.
delivering.
But poor Byron came here 40 years ago and has been missing out, so we had to bring him some. So, yes. So New Hampshire Housing is a partner in all of the deals that we do, as they're the keepers of the tax credits. We work hand in hand with their development and construction teams during development and during construction. And then after construction's complete, they have a fantastic asset management team that helps us throughout the life of the development. Representing New Hampshire Housing today is Nate Robinson, the Director of Multifamily Development and Financing. Nate?
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here to celebrate the opening of Davis Ridge. So as Tom noted, I oversee our development group at New Hampshire Housing, so the team that's responsible for administering our multifamily financing programs, including the Federal Low-Income Housing Tax Credit, the State Affordable Housing Fund, the Federal Home Program, and the Federal Housing Trust Fund. So my team gets to know projects really, really well. We work with them from the time that they apply to resources from New Hampshire Housing to construction completion. And every project sort of gets its own personality over its life cycle. And I often think about the New Hampshire housing values. We have 10 values that guide the organization's work, and I often view a project through one of those lenses. And for this project, the value that really stands out is teamwork. And I know that that's not all of these projects obviously involve teamwork. They wouldn't happen with everybody coming together to do such a great job. But this project, the team has done a phenomenal job. From the financing team, Eastern Bank, RBC, to the construction team, your architect, your engineers, your property managers, to be able to start a project and have it done in less than 12 months in the post-COVID environment is exemplary. I mean, it is really fabulous, and it should not be overlooked. So I really just want to congratulate Catch, Alliance, and everybody. You made this look easy, and it is not easy. So on behalf of New Hampshire Housing, I want to thank you very much for such a job well done.
Thank you, Nate. Appreciate all those kind words. So, Frank LeMay. Frank LeMay has made Milestone Construction a leader throughout the region for decades. As I mentioned previously, the project was completed ahead of schedule and ahead of budget. The decision to hire Milestone was vital to ensuring the success of Davis Ridge. So please welcome Frank LeMay.
The contractor usually doesn't get asked to speak, so I had to really dig for this. But we just have your thank yous to Tom and Alex. Alex sent the September payment to us about an hour ago before she left the office. She is aces. Okay, really, we really. Working with Catch is a rewarding process, and they also made it enjoyable, so I really appreciate that. To the board of directors, everyone that served on the board of directors, and as I'll tell you later, I did at one time, and they're all volunteers, and they're all dedicated, and they've all made Catch what they are. To Senators Shaheen and Hassan, for being champions in the Senate is vital. We worked with NEFA my whole career, a class organization, and to all the financing companies for, I'm getting off script here, Eastern and RBC, that we wouldn't be here without them. As I said, I tried to think, Tom asked me to speak, and I said, I've been in this position, and I'm 7th on the list. What can I say that everybody else has? So I just sat down and said, I'm going to tell you my history with Catch and Milestone's history. I started Milestone in 1988 in a little room, 8x10 room, with 2 file cabinets and an old door on top for a desk and a folding table and a chair. And that was Milestone's beginnings. And not long after I did that, a gentleman called me and he said, my name is John Hamilton and I'm the executive director of Catch. And I wanted to know, somebody at the city said you could help me evaluate properties. And I said, okay, sure, I'd be happy to talk with you. I was sitting at my desk, I didn't have much work. But anyway, so I visited him at 79 North State Street. I walk up to the building and it says Community Development Loan Fund. And I said, okay. So I walked in the door and they said I was looking for John. And they said, oh, his office is downstairs. So I went downstairs and they're sitting at an old desk next to the boiler in a classic old stone basement house is John, and he's the executive director of Catch, and it just gives you an idea where Catch started. And John and I, well, you have to understand at times, this is right after the crash of the real estate market, and banks were trying to, they had the nightmare on Elm Street, and all the banks were trying to give away properties, and the worst of the worst they were trying to give to John. And so we started looking at projects, and I would walk through and I'd say, well, we get to the end and John would say, well, what do you think? And I said, well, it's a lot of asbestos and the boiler's 50 years old and the house is dilapidated, maybe not this one. And by the time we were through about 4 or 5 houses, we'd kind of look at each other and I'd say, run, run. And we finally looked at one that was right next to the Endicott Hotel, in between Endicott and the old Sears store, if anybody remembers Sears. And we walked down, and there was leaky roofs and everything else, and cobwebs, and a kind of better set for a Stephen King horror movie than housing. And I think I told him on that one, run fast. But anyway, I started doing that, and then in 1995, I joined the board. And they were a small organization, a dedicated staff. By that time, they had taken over the Community Development Loan Fund building because Community Development Loan Fund had overgrown it. And we had a conference room in the back in the garage. And we had board meetings every month. And unless, of course, the skunk that lived under the garage sprayed, in which case we'd meet outside or postpone the meeting. And so I'm getting off script again. Anyway, I served on that board. We did everything from look at new projects to deciding in a board meeting whether we needed to buy a new refrigerator and how we were going to pay for it. Again, going back to where Catch started. After leaving the boards, we had the pleasure of building the project at Menino Place. We were selected for that, and I see Kate in the audience. Kate was on that as project manager. And then in 2015, we built their offices on Loudon Road, and now we're here. And we are today. Since I got involved in Catch, in the earlier days, they asked us to support them for a fundraiser, and we've been supporting them ever since. Understand that most of their projects don't get built by Milestone, and people ask me, well, why are you supporting them? They just hired your competitor. And I said, I simply say because Catch gets things done. They really do. They are always a reason not to build affordable housing, whether it be financial, public opposition, too risky, but they always find a way to develop that next opportunity and get it done. And when I look back to my MPI-10 office, and John sitting in the basement, I'm kind of amazed at what they've become. You know, it's really, really a credit to Catch. So with that, I say congratulations. It's a major achievement, one of many you've already accomplished, and I think there are more to come, so thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Very good for a guy who said he didn't want to speak. So, Davis Ridge is the second consecutive project that Eastern Bank has partnered on with Catch. The Community Development Lending Team is committed to New Hampshire, and we are pleased to have had the opportunity to work with them once again. So from Eastern Bank, please welcome Aaron Gladden.
Hello, Aaron Gladden here with Eastern Bank. We are the construction, permanent, and tax credit equity investor. Just want to thank everybody, reiterate the sentiment. These projects take a long time from start to finish, years honestly, but always at the end there's some issues that come up. I remember we had a call, Alex and I, late one afternoon. She called me up and I'm driving home and I get the call and I'm having an issue with my my phone connection to my car. I'm like, you know what, this is probably important, I'll take the call. And Massachusetts is a hands-free state. So I'm like, oh, you know what, it's really important, I'll take the call, and Alex is talking, and I say, Alex, I gotta cut you off, I'm getting pulled over. So we all put a lot into these projects, and no ticket, so it was good. And so Eastern Bank is headquartered in Massachusetts, and we do have a branch about 4 miles from here. And I think that shows the importance of a law that was enacted in 1977 called the Community Reinvestment Act, and ensures that banks reinvest in the communities they're a part of. And that's kind of top of mind for Eastern. We do quarterly compliance with that and ensure that we are investing in the communities we have been a part of for years. So just want to reiterate that fact, and even though we would be part of a project like this, even if that weren't the case, it is important, and I'll keep this short and sweet and just say, whether you're a business, bank, or personal, support the community you're part of. It's vital and important. So thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Eastern Bank has been fantastic for the last couple projects. So today and many other days, you probably hear me speak about the low-income housing tax credit and how affordable housing would not be possible without these credits. While these transactions are very complicated, and people in the audience can vouch for that, I like to keep it simple when I discuss how to use tax credits. New Hampshire Housing sends us a fancy little letter that says, congratulations, you've been awarded $8 million of tax credits. That's great, but that letter does not buy any lumber. Therefore, we have to turn those credits into cash. And there's no one better at syndicating these tax credits and turning them into equity for our developments than Dan Kearse from RBC Community Investments. Dan?
Great. Thank you, Tom. So with RBC Capital Markets, and so what we do is we kind of help raise the equity and, in essence, kind of bank a lot of the banks. So, on this deal, Catch comes up with the concept. They go to New Hampshire Housing, apply for the credits, and believe me, there's a tremendous amount of work that goes on just getting to that stage. Once those credits are allocated from New Hampshire Housing, we then come in and then buy those credits, and this is where the private-public partnership comes together. Federal resource comes in, we leverage that with the private industry to get banks to invest in equity into these deals, which allows us to take a lower mortgage, and that allows us to keep the costs down for rents. And that's how it really works. The program started back in 1987, so it's amazing that it's gone this long and kind of continues, and it's had some fits and starts here and there over the years. But we were extremely happy to have Eastern Bank as our investor in our fund, and I think it's very special to note that each of these banks kind of go through these CRA cycles. So there's times when they don't necessarily need to have an investment in that community because they already hit that goal. What was fantastic about Eastern in this case was we approached them and said, we got to deal with Catch. And they said, well, we don't really need a deal right now. They made an exception, and they worked very hard to make sure that we could, in fact, that we could get them in as the investor here at a price per credit that helped make this feasible. And then RBC helped to bridge their CRA cycle so that we could hold it on our books for, I think it was about 1.5 years until their CRA cycle hit. So it was a real true partnership between Eastern and RBC, helping to get the best pricing for those tax credits, which is fantastic. And we're extremely thankful for their partnership. We're extremely thankful for the partnership with New Hampshire Housing, who just does a great job helping these deals, monitoring these deals, and putting deals together that work. In the last 4 years, there's not that many deals that came in on budget and on time. The COVID era has been a nightmare for the housing industry. Cost overruns, timing delays, high interest rates, high expenses. It's been so hard to piece these deals together. Thank God we had the Invest New Hampshire funds to help make this deal feasible. And so it's so exciting to have both our senators here today so that we can thank you in person for helping make that happen. They have been tireless warriors for the affordable housing industry, and that benefits not just New Hampshire, but all 50 states. And so I'd like to thank Catch for all their hard work in making this happen, New Hampshire Housing, Eastern Bank, all those that partner to make this happen. But especially today, I can't thank you both enough. And I think Tom said it best, you're true affordable housing warriors and heroes. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan. So that about wraps it up for speakers. I want to thank everyone, and I want to take, in just a few minutes, we'll do the official ribbon cutting, and I'm going to ask the senators and the mayor to do that on our behalf. Afterwards, there'll be photos. Please, refreshments are here, and we're going to take feel free to walk and take a tour of some of the units. They're fantastic. There's 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units right here on the first floor, the community room. So feel free to take a stroll through, and a special shout out today for our sponsors for this event. Frank and Milestone Construction, New Hampshire Housing, and RBC. Thank you for helping us celebrate Davis Ridge.
One, two, three.
Yeah.
Yay!